Mr. Biden demanding our guns. As we just outlined, Joe Biden announced a series of executive actions today on gun control that will tighten restrictions on so-called ghost guns and pistol stabilizing braces. And officials say this is just the beginning. Joining me now to weigh in, Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, I know we don't know much information about what's going on in Bryan, Texas right now. It's breaking news, but I just wanted to get your take. From what we can understand, 6 people are injured and they're after the suspect.
Yeah, at this point, we don't have significantly more information than that, but certainly we're monitoring it closely.
Okay. You've got far more experience than Biden does on the issues of guns. If Grassley Cruz had been debated and passed, we could actually be targeting criminals rather than law-abiding citizens. Democrats seem to be targeting us, the law-abiding citizens. Don't their targets reveal what their real proposals are meant to do?
Chris, you're exactly right, and you put your finger on the distinction between the left and right. If the objective is to stop violent crime and stop gun crime in particular, there is an approach that works, and the approach that works is targeting the bad guys, is going after criminals, going after felons and fugitives and those with serious mental illnesses that try to illegally buy guns. And for 9 years in the Senate, I have been leading the fight to go after the bad guys, to take the violent criminals and come down on them like a ton of bricks to stop these mass murders that we've seen across the country. Unfortunately, every time we have a shooting, every time we have a mass murder, the Democrats don't want to focus on the bad guys. They don't want to focus on the criminals. They don't want to actually stop the violence with the policies that work. Instead, their approach is always go after the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens. Their solution is to disarm you and to disarm me. And it's unconstitutional, and it's also incredibly ineffective. Every time we have a shooting, we see Democrats demagogue. We saw this most recently with the horrific shooting that played out in Colorado just a few weeks ago, where Democrats and the news media, for a day, it dominated the news that we must disarm America because of this mass murder. Then suddenly the facts didn't hit their narrative because the gunman was not an individual they wanted. He appeared to be a Syrian who was a Muslim, who was angry at Donald Trump. That was not the narrative they wanted to tell. And so magically, that murder disappeared from the news. We saw likewise in the Capitol, a lunatic who attacked Capitol Police with a knife, murdered a Capitol Police officer. That dominated the news. Proof these crazy Trumpsters are insane, and we've got to disarm them. And then, the guy was a Nation of Islam member and a radical Islamic terrorist, and suddenly, poof, disappears, does not exist. Nothing to see here, move on. And the cynicism with which they approach these issues of crime, it's frankly disgusting.
It is. And again, their compatriots in the press are carrying the Democrat socialist water every step of the way. Today, Jen Psaki was asked about Biden's stance on gun background checks. Here's what she said.
Is it the president's belief that you do not have to undergo a background check when you are at a gun show?
No, it's not his belief. He believes that that background check should be universal.
Okay, but later in the day, this is what Biden had to say about background checks at gun shows. Watch.
The president said a moment ago, quote, "You go to a gun show, you can buy whatever you want, no background check."
Yeah, that was the quote from the president. He falsely claimed that a gun show you can buy whatever you want with no background check. This is how they operate. That's a complete and utter lie, Senator. But this is how they get their agenda passed.
No, that's exactly right. And Democrats, when they address issues of guns, they operate in a fact-free environment where they don't know what they're talking about. I remember, I think it was USA Today a couple of years ago was talking about attachments for scary assault rifles they were talking about. And they described how there was an attachment to put a chainsaw on the front of a so-called assault rifle, apparently like a bayonet. Look, I've fired a lot of rifles in my day. I've never seen one you could strap a chainsaw to the front of. I'm pretty sure that would be top heavy and wouldn't work. But they have no idea. I did see some editorial cartoonists who came up with missile launchers for the front of your rifle. I mean, let's get creative. Let's strap a tank to the front of the rifle. they don't know what they're talking about. And by the way, as you know, the rules at a gun show or anywhere else is if you purchase a firearm from a federally licensed dealer, you have to go through a background check. That's true at a gun show. That's true at a gun store. That's true at Academy. That's true wherever you buy it if you buy it from a federally licensed dealer. If you buy it from an individual who's not in the business of being a dealer, then you're not required to undergo a background check in those limited circumstances. But, you know, you started this segment by talking about the Grassley-Cruz legislation. That was legislation I introduced in 2013 following the horrific shooting in Newtown, Connecticut of those young kids who were targeted and murdered. What Grassley-Cruz did is it focused on the felons and fugitives and those with serious mental illness. And number one, the federal databases, they have a terrible record of actually recording felony convictions. So the database is lacking a lot of convictions, both federal convictions and state convictions. Grassley-Cruz says, let's improve the database. If you're convicted of a felony, we want that information in the database. But number two, bizarrely, the Department of Justice has a long practice of not prosecuting felons and fugitives who try to illegally buy a firearm. And Chris, let me give a specific example. Sutherland Springs, a small town in Texas, tragically the site of the worst church shooting in the history of our country. I was in Sutherland Springs the day after that shooting. I stood in that sanctuary, that beautiful little sanctuary, when there was glass shattered everywhere, blood, shattered iPhones. This deranged lunatic murdered innocent women, children, murdered an 18-month-old infant. Had Grassley-Cruz passed, there's a very good possibility that mass murder wouldn't have happened. Why? Because the shooter had a felony conviction that should have been in the database, but the Obama Air Force never reported it to the database. So the federal government screwed up, didn't put his conviction in the database. He then went to a federally licensed dealer to purchase his firearms, and he filled out the form. You and I have both filled out that form before. It asks, do you have a felony conviction? He checked the box that said no. It also asked, do you have a domestic violence conviction? He checked the box that said no. Both of those were lies, and it is a felony to lie on that form. They ran the background check, but because the Obama Air Force had never reported his conviction, he came up clean. He purchased his firearm, and he went and carried out that horrific murder. If Grassley-Cruz had passed, the Department of Justice was required to conduct an audit, to find every federal felony, make sure it's in the database. So if it had passed, presumably his conviction would have been in the database. But secondly, it mandated the Department of Justice to go and prosecute felons who lie on their forms and try to illegally buy guns. If Grassley-Cruz had passed, the Department of Justice would have prosecuted him, they would have thrown him in jail, and he would have been in a jail cell instead of that beautiful sanctuary. Do you know why Grassley-Cruz passed? Because Chuck Schumer and the Democrats filibustered it. It got a majority of votes on the Senate floor, but the Democrats are so bound and determined to take away your Second Amendment rights that when it came to common sense steps to go after bad guys and stop gun violence, they filibustered it because they don't actually have an interest in solving the problem. They're interested in politics.
100% correct. And don't forget, Dylann Roof was also a failure of government. This is why the founders didn't want the American people to be disarmed, because when the government fails you, because it always will fail you, you'd better be able to protect yourself from the criminal element or other dangers to you and your family. That's why what Biden is proposing today is so dangerous. Last thing, Senator, I got to ask you, I want to turn to the crises, the multiple crises at the border that Biden has created, the national security crisis, the humanitarian crisis, and the public health crisis. He contends these surges happen every year. That's another lie, you know, because we're not setting records the way he is with all of this happening down the border every single year. The Attorney General, Ken Paxton of Texas, told us that border states, including our beloved Texas, are powerless to legally stop all the harm the federal government is doing to us in Texas. What do you tell your constituents?
Well, Texans are mad and they're frustrated, and they should be. As you know, a couple of weeks ago, I led a delegation of 19 senators to go down to the border, down to the Rio Grande Valley. Over the last decade, I've been down to the border many, many times representing the great state of Texas. I've seen it bad before. I've never seen it remotely as bad as it is now. I went out on midnight patrol with the Border Patrol agents. We saw just caravans of people hiking north from the Rio Grande River. kids walking alone, moms with infants nursing, just walking alone and coming up here. We went and visited the Donna tent facility, which is this giant tent city that has been built to accommodate this massive surge. The capacity of the Donna facility is 1,000 people. With COVID restrictions, its capacity is 250. When we were there, they had 4,200 people packed into those Biden cells. That is 1,500% capacity. And in those Biden cells, there were kids. They weren't 6 feet apart. They weren't 3 feet apart. They weren't even 6 inches apart. They were lying side by side by side, touching on the floor, no beds, no mats, no cots, no nothing, wrapped up in reflective emergency blankets. The rate of COVID positivity at the Donna facility is 10%. It is grotesque. It is inhumane. It is wrong. As you know, I took out my camera. I took pictures and video because Biden wouldn't let the press in there. Biden sent a political minder from D.C. to try to stop the senators from recording what happened. She jumped in front of my phone. She tried to block it. We put it out. And ultimately, the Biden administration got so shamed that a few days later, they finally let the press in. But what they are doing is wrong. And the important point to understand, this was preventable. It is the direct result of 3 political decisions made by Joe Biden. In his first week, number 1, he announced he was immediately halting construction of the wall. Number 2, he reinstated the failed policy of catch and release. And number 3, and somebody has done their research because the Chiron's got number 3, he ended the Remain in Mexico policy. And the Remain in Mexico policy, that's actually the most significant of the 3. Remain in Mexico.
And Senator, I am up against the clock right now, and you know what? I could talk to you the entire hour. We've got so much to dissect, but the time you always make for the Chris Salcedo Show is much appreciated, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.